think it's possible Christian Combs could play in his father's criminal case?
The government loves superseding indictments. The government loves indicting your relatives. Why? Nothing is worse. Right now, Diddy's sitting in a jail cell. What could be worse? The thought of your son also sitting in a jail cell.
I think that if we're talking about additional charges and additional defendants, those are probably two of the more likely. And Christian, of course, was the subject of a civil lawsuit where there was a sexual assault allegation naming him directly.
The government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise, and they actually named it in the indictment, the Combs Enterprise.
The courtroom in Los Angeles fell silent the moment the defense made a stunning claim, alleging that Christian Combs had invited underage attendees to those notorious parties. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted. Flashbulbs lit up the room as Christian slowly rose from his seat, visibly shaken, his complexion drained of color. Without a word or even a backward glance at his legal team, he turned and walked out. No explanation. No hesitation. It was clear this wasn't a planned move. It was a full-blown flight response. Journalists snapped to attention, zeroing in like it was the story of the year. And who could blame them? The accusation alone, mentioning young guests and lavish yacht events, sent shockwaves through the entire trial. Suddenly, every previous headline felt irrelevant in comparison. Christian's exit wasn't just about his reputation. It was an urgent attempt to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. This wasn't courtroom maneuvering anymore. It was a desperate push to contain a potential media explosion.
That raid, I only heard about the LA and Miami raid, but you feel like the feds, they released that video over King Combs' comments.
Oh man, I've worked in law enforcement for 27 years, and I had the opportunity to see HIDA. It's a place, whereas they have the state, the feds, the NYPD, the Department of Corrections, and the state police. Yo, this place could be half of a basketball court. That's where they just got lines of computers with officers of all different people and officers just on the internet. Whoever's over that case, whoever's working that case, don't you know they saw that and took it to their...
To strengthen their case, Christian's attorney brought out something jaw-dropping: transcripts from hidden audio recordings. Yes, real tapes. These clips, secretly recorded by a producer inside a makeshift studio aboard a yacht, featured a young woman named Grace Omar Kay. In the recording, Grace described being approached inappropriately and said things escalated after she drank tequila she believes was laced. Grace wasn't just another guest. She had been hired as a steward, expecting a low-key family cruise on a yacht reportedly chartered by Sean Diddy Combs in late December 2022. But what she stepped into was anything but peaceful. According to her, it was nonstop partying, wild behavior, and a stream of women who seemed like they were paid to be there. The drinks? So potent that people were losing control after just one glass.
Sean Diddy Combs' second son, Christian Combs, is accused of sexually assaulting a crew member working on a super yacht. That suit was filed here in Los Angeles. Attorneys representing former yacht stewardess Grace Omar say she was sexually assaulted on board a yacht when she was 25 years old in December of 2022 by Diddy's son, rapper Christian Combs. They say his dad, Sean Combs, leased the yacht and had full control of its staff and the premises. Omar's lawyers say Combs turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment. They stated, quote, defendant Sean Combs fostered and encouraged an environment of debauchery. There was always a party atmosphere filled with suspected sex workers, suspected laced alcohol, violence, and sheer disrespect of women and the yacht's crew. The lawsuit also contains photos of bruises that Omar's lawyers say she suffered when Christian Combs violently grabbed her and attempted to force her to perform a sex act. They also included a transcript of an audio recording which they say captures Omar being forced to consume suspected laced shots of tequila.
Grace recounts that Christian arrived at the yacht already heavily intoxicated. She claims he urged her to take multiple tequila shots and then crossed serious boundaries, touching her legs, her chest, and attempting something far more disturbing. But it didn't end there. According to Grace, she fought him off and fled, but he wasn't finished. His behavior, she says, only became more alarming.
And Christian Combs. Well, Markey says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but that he would come onto the yacht in the evening to party. And on December 28, 2022, Christian reportedly arrived very intoxicated and then proceeded to pressure Markey to take shots of tequila. She did. Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift studio. Well, Markey alleges that Christian kissed her neck, kissed her face, as he groped her legs, breasts, and private areas. Well, Markey reportedly told Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that." Markey then says that she told Christian she couldn't stay with him unless it was approved by a supervisor, all of whom she knew would be asleep at the time. So this was a way for her to get out of the situation. She claims that Christian said, "Who can I talk to? I'm going to say I requested you right now." Well, Markey then says she responded with, quote, "Well, you can take your hand off my ass for the first thing."
She says he followed her into the yacht's movie room, also used as a sleeping space, blocked the entrance, and came at her again. It only stopped when someone finally intervened. From that moment on, everything unraveled. According to her lawsuit, Grace began suffering from panic attacks, depression, disordered eating, and even seizures. She provided evidence too, photos of bruises on her arm and those unsettling audio clips. All of it was submitted to the court when she filed a lawsuit against both Combs men, accusing them of sexual assault, harassment, emotional distress, and failing to protect her from harm.
So I want to bring on right now criminal defense attorney Mauricio Padilla, friend of the show. He's represented some very high-profile defendants in high-profile cases. Good to see you once again. So I don't think we've had a chance to talk about this lawsuit, and now that the news is reporting that Christian has been served with papers here, why is that significant?
Well, it's significant because anytime that they have the opportunity to continue to remind the public of the malfeasance of Diddy, of Diddy's son, of anything related to sexually inappropriate behavior, sexual assault, it helps. It helps the government continue to, lay out the narrative of how bad Diddy was, how bad Diddy's son was. So I think it's consistent with, what they've been doing, putting it out there and really destroying his character. I'm not saying that he didn't do anything to deserve it. I'm saying it's consistent with what they're doing, whether it's the government or the lawyers that are suing.
In the courtroom, Grace's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, wasted no time making his presence felt. He launched straight into the evidence, guiding the jury through the audio clips and detailing how the drinks were allegedly spiked with GHB and other powerful substances linked to date-related assaults. Then, he dropped a major revelation, suggesting there were even more recordings yet to surface, and he was fully prepared to push for their inclusion in court. But the biggest twist came next. Blackburn boldly claimed that the Combs brothers not only participated in, but also helped organize these so-called freak-off gatherings, some allegedly involving minors. Christian's lawyer, Aaron Dyer, quickly clapped back, dismissing the entire case as outrageous and false, promising to file a motion to get it thrown out. But here's where it gets serious. These allegations aren't just words. They're tied to hard evidence.
So Markey, Jones taped this event with her. Yes, the lawsuit provides transcripts of audio recordings, and these audio recordings purportedly show, or you can hear, kissing sounds, her telling Combs not to touch her, her allegedly asking about whether she was drugged. Now, we haven't heard these tapes here on Law and Crime yet, but if they are what they purport to be, that is a huge piece of evidence. And remember, when we're talking a civil case, when we're talking lawsuits, the burden of proof is much lower than a criminal case. It's just preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not that this happened.
Lil Rod didn't hold back in his detailed lawsuit. He directly named Justin Combs, accusing him of bringing both underage girls and adult entertainers to exclusive events. One key piece of evidence? A photo that allegedly shows Justin alongside a young woman believed to be underage and connected to those gatherings. At least according to what's outlined in the legal filing.
His lengthy lawsuit, Lil Rod straight name drops Justin Combs, describing him as someone who solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers. There's actually a picture of Justin Combs with an allegedly underage girl shown in the lawsuit. Now, in this specific instance, Lil Rod alleges at least one underage girl came to Diddy's home for a listening party. A sex worker was also apparently solicited, and a freak-off ensued. As an aside, this is the same night that Lil Rod alleges Diddy forced him to take a laced shot. He started to feel lightheaded and then woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, naked next to a sex worker. It's important to note Justin Combs is listed as a defendant on this case because, according to Lil Rod, he facilitated Diddy's alleged RICO enterprise and at times
In one shocking claim, Lil Rod alleges that a girl under the legal age appeared at Diddy's home during what was supposed to be a simple music listening session. He says an adult entertainer was also brought in, and things quickly escalated into yet another chaotic freak-off. That same night, Lil Rod claims Diddy pressured him into taking a shot he suspects was laced. According to his account, he began feeling disoriented, blacked out, and woke up around 4 a.m., naked, beside a woman he says he never agreed to be with. Justin Combs isn't just briefly mentioned, he's officially named in the lawsuit. Lil Rod accuses him of helping manage Diddy's alleged operations and, at times, participating in them.
I think that if we're talking about additional charges and additional defendants, those are probably two of the more likely. And Christian, of course, was the subject of a civil lawsuit where there was a sexual allegation naming him directly. So I think if we're going to cast a bit of a wider net, people are talking about family members, other celebrities, maybe some employees like Christian Fora, but I think the most likely would be those two sons.
Why do you think it's the most likely about those two? Just because of the recordings, the allegations against him? What are you thinking?
I think so. I think obviously they're just civil allegations and those cases are going to be put on hold while the criminal case plays out. But, there is some smoke there. And obviously, there's a presumption of innocence and there's a lower standard in a civil case. But you have someone who's been named directly as someone who participated in a sexual assault, and everything else has been rumors and speculation. But here you at least have one verified.
So what were these so-called freak-offs really about? Prosecutors say they weren't just wild parties. They were something far darker. The Manhattan indictment paints a disturbing picture. Meticulously staged sex shows, allegedly masterminded by Diddy with support from his own sons. These weren't random acts of chaos. The events were deliberately orchestrated, the lawsuit claims, with underage guests allegedly being coerced into drug-fueled activities while everything was caught on camera. And it wasn't just Diddy in the spotlight. Both of the Combs brothers are named as active players. They're accused of bringing in underage girls, handing out cash, loading the venues with party gear, and even assisting with filming, right alongside their father.
I believe it was Justin, Diddy, and G walked into the bathroom and shots rang out. Lil Rod woke up so scared. Justin and Diddy left. Lil Rod went in the bathroom, saw G out all over the place, literally called the ambulance, carried him out. It was carnage and everything, put him in the ambulance. The police showed up. Lil Rod cited that as a lawsuit, and then they asked for the LAPD's report. The LAPD just released an 18-page report with no mention of any carnage or anyone that.
The allegations tied to Christian's case have taken an even darker turn. On September 16, 2024, a Manhattan grand jury delivered a sweeping indictment against Diddy, charging him with racketeering, trafficking, and a series of grave offenses. Prosecutors argue this wasn't just about outrageous parties. They allege Diddy systematically manipulated women, some reportedly as young as 9, into participating in these freak-offs with paid male performers. Powerful drugs were allegedly used to keep victims compliant, and every disturbing moment was captured on video. Now, Diddy's entire empire is crumbling under the weight of claims that go beyond the shocking, reaching into allegations of arson, bribery, kidnapping, and most haunting of all, the recorded abuse at the center of the case.
It was at I believe to be one of P. Diddy's freak-offs.
Now, singer-songwriter Tania Wallace told TMZ's Harvey Levin for the Tubi special, The Downfall of Diddy, Inside the Freak-Offs, She believes she witnessed underage victims at one of Diddy's 2018 parties.
I'm looking like, are those midgets? Because people were trying to, it's people over them. Like, it's people trying to hide what they're doing.
Adults who are little people, or are you talking about minors?
Am I gonna get in trouble? I don't want to say I witnessed any of that crazy stuff, but we all have common sense. Little people that's not supposed to be there.
You're talking about underage people.
It's a shame.
Is this woman, Tania, is she really saying that there were minors involved in these freak-offs?
That is exactly what she's saying, Bill.
In March 2025, Homeland Security agents executed major raids on Diddy's properties in Los Angeles, Miami, and New York. They seized electronics, firearms, party logs, and even an unsettling amount of lubricant. During the Miami raid, Christian was handcuffed at his father's LA mansion and taken in for questioning. However, no charges were filed, and he was released without incident. Diddy's legal team quickly tried to downplay the situation, calling the raids an ambush and vowing to fight back against what they described as unfounded accusations. But let's be honest, the optics were a nightmare. A father facing a federal indictment and his son entangled in a graphic civil lawsuit. The entire situation was pure chaos, unfolding on every possible front.
The whole public relations side of this, Diddy is going to want to put up a front of an innocent person. And sometimes the best defense is a good offense. Right now, investigators are going through the evidence that they seized. What they're really looking for are videos of the alleged sexual abuse. If prosecutors have that information, we're talking about days or weeks before Diddy is charged. He may go to prison for the rest of his life.
Christian had been working hard to carve out his own identity, trying to step away from Diddy's towering shadow. His track Can't Stop, Won't Stop made a splash on the R&B charts in 2022, and he even launched his own luxury sneaker line, Younger Luxury. He was showing serious ambition and hustle. But now, every headline seems to link Christian Combs directly to controversy, overshadowing all his previous efforts.
Control the narrative. And do their best to control the narrative, and frankly, that's her right if she has that data that to do what she wants. I don't think it helped the situation. I don't think it helped her son or Sean Diddy. I think it may have just you still have human beings you're dealing with on both sides of the table, and basically kind of amping this up. I don't think that solves anything for anybody. Also, it's a matter of, is the public going to be sympathetic to a billionaire and, his problems and his issues? This isn't something that happened, in an unfortunate instance in a lower socioeconomic area of Los Angeles or New York or Cleveland. This is in Hollywood with a $50 million mansion with luxury cars out front, and dealing with a billionaire, and then they had another one in Miami. I don't think the American people or the public are like having a whole lot of sympathy for anybody.
Social media exploded. His comment section was flooded. Some fans defended him, others tore him apart, and a few even demanded he address the situation on camera. But Christian stayed silent, sticking only to the statements his lawyers released. However, that silence, especially after his dramatic exit from court, spoke volumes to the public. In the court of public opinion, staying quiet can often be just as telling as a confession.
I was upgraded from my last one. Risha, Keisha, and Joy. And that tripping if you didn't enjoy it.
Shut and Mike.
I would knock 23 and 1.
And 1.
Now I ball like 23
and 1. And 1.
We're not getting in practice shots. You know what I'm saying? He getting practice shots because we got the legend of the building.
You already know what it is, man.
Christian Combs. King, the one and only.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start with getting right into it, though. Music. That's good.
Yeah, I got my new music, Legacy, dropping. It's about to be crazy.
When is dropping? Let us know some exclusive info.
15th, October 15th. Right. When you see this, it might be out.
Nah, you gonna see it tomorrow. He working hard. This dropping tomorrow.
And Cardi's dropping soon. It's gonna be a visual.
But I keep it real. Ever since we've been in LA like 4 years, we run into you like hearing that, see you grow, like from developing like artists to like just being cool. At first we met you, like we just knew you was cool. Then you start dropping.
Next up in Christian's legal battle, a motion to dismiss. His attorney, Aaron Dyer, is coming out swinging, arguing that Grace's lawsuit is full of holes. He points out the lack of metadata on the audio files, no guest logs to confirm the presence of minors, and no definitive proof that the tequila was spiked. If the judge sides with them, Grace may never even see the inside of a courtroom.
Role do you think it's possible Christian Combs could play in his father's criminal case?
The government loves superseding indictments. The government loves indicting your relatives. Why? Nothing is worse. Right now, Diddy's sitting in a jail cell. What could be worse? The thought of your son also sitting in a jail cell. So if they can prove it and they have him committing crimes and they can involve him in a superseding indictment, I don't see why they wouldn't. They do it all the time in narco cases and in other cases that I've worked on. And it seems to me like Diddy wasn't or never created these broad defined lines between his children and the alleged illegal acts that he was committing. So it's completely possible that they could get wrapped up in.
But if Tyrone Blackburn can convince the court there's enough smoke to warrant chasing the fire, things could go nuclear. Discovery would begin, forcing both sides to hand over emails, guest lists, yacht records, and make witnesses testify under oath. That process could drag on for years, with Christian's name getting battered in relentless media coverage. And that dramatic moment when he stormed out of court? It's not going anywhere. That's just the beginning of a long, messy saga under the spotlight.
To ET, Diddy and Christian's attorney said, "This complaint is filled with manufactured lies and irrelevant facts," adding, "We will be filing a motion to dismiss this outrageous claim." The new lawsuit comes as Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, spoke out on the Art of Dialogue YouTube channel, making new claims about Diddy's notoriously wild parties.
People know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, all kind of crazy. I don't think it's only celebrities going to be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there.
Over on the East Coast, the federal case against Diddy is set for trial on May 5th, 2025 in Manhattan, with jury selection just around the corner. Prosecutors say they've already secured at least 5 accusers, including Cassie Ventura, who famously settled her case in 2023. They're pushing to bring in witnesses to speak about past incidents, hoping to show a pattern of misconduct tied to Diddy. While Christian's drama in that LA courtroom may not be the primary focus in New York, it's certainly adding to the narrative. Prosecutors want the jury to see this as a family legacy of abuse. For Grace, the fight is far from over. She's not just after compensation. She wants accountability. Her entire case against Christian Combs serves as a powerful reminder that taking on the powerful comes with real consequences.
Once again, facing Sean P. Diddy Combs, who's already the subject of a federal investigation. Just yesterday, Christian Combs, Diddy's 26-year-old son, was named in a new lawsuit alleging sexual assault by a woman working on a yacht in 2022. Sean Combs is being sued for premises liability as the person who chartered the yacht and for aiding and abetting his son in the alleged assault. Well, here's the deal. Right now, anything associated with P. Diddy is considered cancerous. He could be guilty of the allegations that have been levied against him. His son could be guilty of the allegations that have been levied against him. But the reality is that even if they're not guilty of such things, their name has been tainted severely. And usually something like this happens when you create enemies in the wrong places. Usually it's not just a byproduct of your act or your actions. There's something else that's going on here. But you've seen people get accused of things a lot of times. But the tsunami of things that are coming in the direction of P. Diddy and his family.
This whole saga leaves us with a ton of unanswered questions. Christian Combs, son of music mogul Diddy, has been caught in a storm of controversy. But can he really clear his name after that dramatic exit from the courtroom? It's hard to ignore the optics, the moment he bolted out, pale and silent, while the world was watching. His lawyer, Aaron Dyer, is doing everything he can to dismiss the charges, pointing to holes in the evidence. Still, that silence, that sudden walkout is haunting. Was it a tactical move to avoid further incrimination? Or was it just a son trying to protect his image from spiraling into a full-blown scandal? Christian's legal team has argued that Grace's lawsuit against him lacks solid proof. They claim the audio files don't hold up, the guest lists are unreliable, and there's no conclusive evidence that the tequila was laced. But the public's perception? That's a whole different story. His exit from court only added fuel to the fire, leaving everyone wondering what really went down behind closed doors. Was he just avoiding the heat, or is there something bigger at play here? The stakes are high, and Christian is fighting not just for his freedom, but for his reputation. As this case unfolds, we can't ignore the more disturbing claims being made. Grace, who worked as a steward on a yacht chartered by Diddy in late 2022, alleges that she was drugged and sexually assaulted by Christian during a chaotic party. These claims aren't just about what happened that night. They're about an alleged pattern of behavior that stretches beyond one night and potentially implicates not just Christian, but his father, Diddy, and even his brother, Justin. Grace's lawsuit against the Combi's men includes shocking allegations of underage girls being brought into the scene and parties where drugs and sex acts were allegedly the norm. The evidence she's presented, including audio recordings, photos, and her testimony, paints a picture of a much darker reality than anyone imagined. And now, as the federal case against Diddy builds momentum, the focus has shifted to the family's entire operation. Diddy faces a major trial in May 2025 in Manhattan, where prosecutors are looking to bring in multiple accusers and potential witnesses to testify about the alleged freak-off parties and other misconduct. Even though Christian's personal case in LA might not be the primary focus in New York, the details from the courtroom drama in California are definitely adding fuel to the fire. Prosecutors want the jury to see a clear pattern, one that ties abuse, power, and privilege together. The Combs family's legacy could now be forever marred by these allegations, and Christian's name, no matter how hard he tries to shake it, is tangled in that mess. If minors were truly involved, as some are suggesting, that opens an entirely new level of questions. How could such a massive operation fly under the radar for so long? What does that say about the kind of power and privilege that allowed all of this to continue unchecked? Were people too afraid to speak out because of who Diddy and his sons were? Or worse, were they complicit in covering it all up? Christian Combs may not be the primary target in these cases, but with his name tied so tightly to these allegations, can he really break free from the shadow of these freak-off events? His career, his future, and his entire legacy now hang in the balance. As the lawsuits pile up and new evidence emerges, the public's interest only grows. Social media has exploded with comments, with some standing by Christian, others condemning him, and many demanding answers. But despite all the pressure, Christian has kept his silence. His legal team is adamant that this is all a baseless attack, but the longer the case drags on, the more questions arise. The stakes are high, not just for Christian, but for everyone involved in this twisted saga. So, what's next? Will Christian's silence be enough to protect him? Can he survive the media firestorm and clear his name? Or will this scandal haunt him forever? As the trial in New York inches closer, the drama is only escalating, and the public is waiting for the next big twist. As always, we'll be here, digging through court filings, sealed recordings, and every shocking detail to keep you up to date on the latest developments. If you've been following this case, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Does Christian's dramatic exit from court scream guilt, or was it simply a son trying to protect his legacy? Either way, we'll be here tracking every step of the journey. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.